So this is what he did in the book. So this is pretty much going to be like a trial and error. When we plugged in our I value and we looked up in our chart, these were the numbers we found for our TA and our TF. And our NTB was negative 49,421. So obviously we still have some work to do, right? So, but MA, using MARR value does not work for us. So then we have to do some computations. So instead of it goes from 15 down to 10, down to 9%. So
第5个讲什么吧？讲的第6个了吧？这好像今天在讲的，这是3%左右是正常是吧？比这个高就带了。30%。他们以为是叫什么100%之前都是 OK 的，就是说是比例一样好像。
He did that until we reach 8%, and obviously our NCV becomes positive. So we know our number has to be between 9 and 8%. So we just do interpolation to find what our I is at this point. So okay, so just make a note, here, our NPV value we set to 0, right? That's the asterisk. We want to find the I value to make our NPV become 0. So our internal rate of return is 8.6%, which is obviously so it's 8.6%. And how we set up our NPV, we had B minus A. So if our number is less than 15%, that means A is better, right? That's basically. So that's the general idea for calculating your IRR. And it's basically this format, and then you get into a little bit more complicated stuff. It's basically the same idea. You just set up your equations like you're doing like an NPV. You pick one to start with or whatever. So here we pick our PVA. Over here we actually pick our V, right? You do V minus A. You do start off at your bar value, and then you use your iterations to find an I value that make your NPV equal to 0. So we're going to do what is equal here we had our NPV set up as B minus A, right? So with our B minus A, we had an IRR value of 8.6%. So the whole idea is, if you had a reverse A minus B, your IRR value should be higher. Yeah. So that's just the idea. So, it should be, well, it should be higher than 8.6%. Sometimes you do. If the next question, number 6, you have to do both, right? But here they wanted to use to just find out what your I value is, minus the next percentage. But in number 6 that I'll do, you have to basically do both, depending on what your answer is. So right now we'll go to number 5. Okay, number 5 says, okay, the company who have a couple of options for economic life of their service. They have a purchase option and a lease option. And both of these are estimated over a 5-year period. So we'll start off with the purchase option. And they want you to find out which option is better. And they state that profitability is assumed. Okay, so they say first the server can be purchased for $500K. So that's our initial. The purchase for $500K. Its annual operating and maintenance costs are expected to be $80K. So obviously this is the annual cost. And they have a salvage value at the end of 5 years at $50K. Okay. And they state more information such as the depreciation, which should be calculated on a straight line basis for 5 years at $90K per year. So the special note right off the top of your head, this is an NPV calculation, so it's a cash flow. And depreciation is not a cash flow, right? So do not include it. So no depreciation. Very important to know. Okay, and then for the lease options, they say they have 10 payments of 40K. Okay, 10K of 40 payments. 40K. 10 payments of 40K a year. And they have maintenance cost of 80K. Annual maintenance cost of 80K.
现在讲的这些 IRR 和 NPV 就是说是算法的这个比较好的来看的，因为这参考的是差不多的，有什么区别呢？
应该是算
So one thing you should know right away, okay, so we're doing, as I said, so we're comparing two things together. So, you know, there's no need to go through the operation cost because it's the same for both, right? So just forget about it.
Breaking
The data
even
is going to include because it's the same thing. It's just like actual anyway. Okay, and then it states your MAR is at 12% compounded
profit 是
quarterly.
一样的，或者是算的 cost 是一样的。
他这些回报的钱，回报的钱，应该都是这个钱。
Okay, and you want you to figure out which option would be recommended better.
哦，这种就是按回报的那个公司回报的那个这种啊。
This one is a little bit more tricky. So first thing you should note is that, okay, we have a 12% rate compounded quarterly. So what does that mean? It means that we have to, okay, our MAR is an annual rate, so we have to find what our quarterly rate would be, right? So our IQ would be obviously 1204. And that's fine, we can leave it as this because our interest is compounded in the quarters. This will be a little bit different when we talk about our lease option, but here it's fine to just leave it as this because we're matching, it's completely fine. So that's going to be our IQ that we're going to be using. Okay, so then we'll just set up set up the equation for the first. Okay, so this will be our PV for our purchase. So let's make a note. So this is for, as I said before, a 5-year investment, 5-year plan. So we have our interest is done quarterly, right? So that means our number period would be 20, 5 times 4, right? So that's why we have that 20 over there. So similar operation, okay, we're going to first use our I as, this is the next present value question. Okay. Okay, so remove this copy of it. Okay, so this would just be the answer, which would just be straight NPV. This would be the answer. So now, if we're to do calculate the lease, it's going to be similar, kind of similar. Only special note for our I values for this question. Okay, because what we have now is that they stated that they need to make 10 payments of 40K, 10 payments of 40K. So that basically means it's going to happen every 6 months, right? So that's the big note. Okay, so, and I don't know if you guys remember this formula. I introduced it to, a couple of terms ago. So, the reason is, one would think that you would just plug in 12 divided by 2, right? And get 6% and use that. Use that for your interest rate, but that would be wrong. You get a close answer, but it would be wrong. The whole idea is that, okay, so I'm going to 12 divided, so the reason because our interest is compounded every quarter, not every 6 months, right? So we need to take that into consideration. Because it's compounded every quarter, not 6 months, that means our I for every 6 months should be higher than 6%. That's the general idea. So our R, as I think I said before, is our nominal rate. So in this case, will be 12 divided by 2. So 12 divided by 2 would be 6%. That would be our nominal rate. But because we have our interest is compounded every quarter, we have to find our effective rate, right? So we have 6%. M is the number of times the number of periods that your interest is compounded.
2.
So, yeah, so it will be 2. So just the idea of, if we have 6 months right now, then in 6 months, how many times would interest be compounded? 2 times, right? And now we got,
比如说是你 compound 是你4个月 compound 一次，怎么办？
0.09%.
那就不能到算
which is higher than 6%. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that, because the low interest and
他只给的你什么？比如说
给你什么就用什么。
还用不成。
Okay, so once we have this, we'll just plug in that.
如果再说4个月，一年就有3个 period， 对吧？然后你也可以算6除以4就是1.25 period。
你就是每个月，但是它不是每个月 compound 的。
6除以4就是它半年，不然几 period 1.5 period。
你6是什么？是年的用钱，每年的用钱。
如果是1年的话，就是3个 period。
啊，1年好，我就算半年怎么
就6 1.5就是1加上它那个4月的那个应该
好，1.5放上面的。对啊。
相当于它上这个，然后1.5这个就是1.5。
Can we try to keep the chatter to a minimum, please? Okay, so that's your answer. So any questions about that? And that should be clear. Main thing is to realize the I effective rate. Yeah, also note that this is 10 payments, right? And okay, so now the complicated question, a little more complicated. Number 6. So we have a project A, project B, and in both projects, we're expected to have an annual revenue of $250K per year, starting at year 1. And we're giving cost flows for project A and project B from year 0 to year 5. And we're told that it's going to be a 5-year planning period. And our MARR is about 15%. Okay, so this is a pure internal rate of return question. And this question, you will have to basically evaluate, pick a purchase plan out of project A or project B. We evaluate like we did in the number 2. And then we're going to have to double check our numbers, just like you mentioned before, just to confirm that the project B or A is better than the other. Okay, so I don't know if you have the pages in front of you. So project B is year 0. $350K, and then it's $125K from year 1 to year 5. Great. And our project A is $100K and $125. Year 1, and year 5 is 32. So these are costs. Okay. Okay, so we chose to start off with. Yep. Which question? This is question, should be question 6. Yeah, question 6. Okay, so we start off with evaluating project B. Okay, for initial 350, year 0. Now annual rate 125. Also, and we have revenue too, right? 50 revenue, which is also annual. Five-year plan. So first of all, just like before, we're going to have set our ID equal to MAR, which is 15%. And calculate. Do trial and error again in order to find your I value. So plug in your I, get your different TA values. And we want our PVB to equal 0. So that's the whole idea. Interpolated values. Our ID is somewhere between 20 and 25. We interpolate. ID equal to 20 23.2%. Okay, and what's this 23.2% is a good number because we stated we wanted our mark to be at least 15%, right? So this means that project B is good. So now we just have to figure out if project A is better. So that's the idea. Okay, so obviously if our project B had a value of like 14%, then that means project B is not good at all. We just evaluate project A by itself. So I'll just make a note of that. And obviously, if project A was better, then you just stop there, right? So in this case, we don't know if A is better yet, so we have to go a step further. Done on this side?
我发现这题让你有什么不看？
Okay, so we're going to do similar thing that we did before, it's NTV. Okay, so we're going to do A minus B. Okay, so in this case, they basically just evaluated all the cash flows, right? Which you can do that. It's the same thing. So we have 0, 1, 2, 400 minus 350. Negative 400 minus 350. 125 minus 5, 0. 0, 0,
就把这是两支笔白的四加和这个什么的哎对吧是差的
So this is our cash flow, NTV cash flow.
两个星期没碰
So obviously we save ourselves some steps by just evaluating it based on the pure numbers, right? So we just have to do NTV of the present value of money of these numbers. Year 5. We're just going to bring that to the present. Okay. So once again, we want to find an I that will make our NTV A minus B go to 0, right? So in this case, it's kind of up to you. You can do trial and error or iterative method. But probably easier to just use the formula since the formula from present final to present is pretty simple, right? So you can just find what your I is from there. So and this is what we did. So we found our I at IAG, 13.7%. This is obviously less than our MAR of 15%. So we know for sure that product B is the better one, right? So that's just the general idea for the IRR. So it's very similar to what you guys have done before. So now you're doing like a little bit of iterated method, or maybe using a formula. Obviously, if you have a couple of TA and TDAP all in one equation, probably that's the fastest way to use iterated method. If you just have one and a simple formula, probably quicker to just calculate.
我是没学的，我上周3次没事了，我一直玩到昨天。
Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for right now. If you have any questions, anything you want to talk about?
不是感觉跟差不多的东西吗？
No, not gonna.
1%200会简单些。
1%200 micro economics。
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So we'll be on
是 macro 还是 micro？
chapter 4, IRR.
宏观经济和微观经济有啥区别？